Welcome back to Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and I'm going to talk to you today about the top 5 Kenner vehicles, vintage, that should get remade. And I'm going to start off by saying, well, these three here have been remade. Talking about the Falcon on the right there, and the BMF Falcon, or Legacy Falcon, or Vintage Collection Falcon, and that's a great Falcon. And topping that's going to be tough. Now you can take that and fix a few things, but then Kenner's already said it's going to cost almost as much as a cell barge if they re-released it, like $500. So whatever. Next, the AT. AT's already big, oversized, so, and it's really cool with all the lights and sounds, and essentially this Snowspeeder's been re-released smaller, and I'll show you real quick, which is kind of one of the unprecedented things when they're making everything bigger, and then now there's that one, and now they made this smaller. So number 5. The number 5 vehicle I think they should remake is the Y-Wing. The reason for that is, first of all, I don't think the Y-Wing is to scale. If you really look at the comparisons next to all of the other ones, the other vehicles that it flies next to, and B-Wing and all that, it's really not to scale. Next, I'd really like to see them put modern-day electronics in it. I'd like to see that some sort of fix to this back engine here. Now, they did re-release this pretty much the same mold with no engine for the Vintage Collection at Toys R Us. They've done a couple of other recolors of it, but nothing that is truly redesigned in the way that they've done with those other vehicles I've just shown you. So, yeah, the Kenner one is pretty good, but I think that could be better. And that's why it's number 5, because it's not the one I think needs the most attention. So the next vehicle I want to talk about is the Rebel Transport. Number 4. And the reason it's number 4 is because I don't think it's iconic, but not the most iconic. But it kind of bugs me kind of how lame this is. As you can see with it broken down to its separate components, it is more like a carrying case than an actual playset, which is kind of cool in a way, but this tray, you can stand them up in there, but in my opinion, they could do so much more with it these days. And I think it fell short. And wherever it fell short, we can fix that, make it better, make it bigger, make it more awesome, and make it a lot more screen accurate. But yeah, number 4, my choice would be that we need to remake the Kenner Vintage Rebel Troop Transport. So next I want to talk about remaking the Skiff. There's a lot of fun play features, and this is the 2 of the original vintage skiffs, and you can see the color scheme on it, which is not really screen accurate, and the size. Now, it was a lower price point. I think it was a mid-range toy, like you had the mini rigs, then you had this, then you had like X-Wings, and then you kind of had the Falcons and AT-ATs and stuff. But this came out in the Power of the Force line when they were pretty much done with it, and they put a lot of work into this, and it even showed up in the Droids cartoon or something, or the Ewoks, one of them. And it showed up in the Force Awakens, Power of the Force, well, one of the games, on the PlayStation 3. Yeah, it appeared in the Force Unleashed first game. I got a copy of each of these in case you think I'm a Sony fanboy. I actually am a Sony fanboy. With the cell barge coming out, it just makes sense for a lot of reasons, probably a million reasons. But the number 1 reason it makes sense is for those of us who got a cell barge would probably buy a new skiff to go with our cell barge. The number 2 biggest reason is those who have not bought one, missed out on the date, didn't know about it, or just didn't feel like dropping $500, would drop 60 or 70 bucks on one of these that was bigger, didn't have flimsy rails that broke real easy, didn't have all the problems associated with this one being so flimsy. So number 2 on my list for vehicles that need to get remade, obviously it's going to be the Sandcrawler. Cause the Sandcrawler is pretty cool, the vintage one. It's going to cost you $300 to get a complete one, $400, $500, who knows now. It was $300 when I set out to get a couple extras, and that was really hard to get it cheaper than $300. But on this, for this particular vehicle, it's severely undersized. I think it's a quarter of the size it should be. Next, it should come with, some features. And this one is radio controlled. And then if you kick it on, I'm not sure if this one, it's not going to go on this surface real well. So anyway, it needs a hard surface to go. But anyway, this guy here is, there's a whole lot of things that you could do with this. Electronics, put in like a built droid section. You could put in play features, lights, of course, electronics, and make it bigger, but it would double as a playset. It would be one of the HasLab things. It would be so many reasons. I think this, I guess I'm going to lose out. Death Star's probably going to be next, then this. And then there's like Bespin and all these other ideas, but I really think this would be one that people would get behind with HasLab. Ready for number one? Before I go to our number one, I want to say that they reissued this thing as some sort of Diamond Select exclusive. They had also carried them at Hastings, and I picked one up. And it's the same exact thing, just recolored, no electronics. You can almost probably pull the ladder and the, the elevator off of them and slide it in this, and it would look about right. But anyway, that's really not something I'd advise, but you can. And lastly, the vehicle they need to remake the most. The number one, according to the Tiberium Hangar, is the Imperial Shuttle. Now, are you surprised at all? Now, I don't think the size is too far off. I would actually like it to be completely redesigned and stronger. This thing is very, very delicate, very gentle, and it has to go with the design. The guns fall off real easy, pieces break, the canopy. Okay, I'm going to go into detail on what I don't like about this thing. I love this thing. This is my favorite ship. Out of all the ships, I've gone after more of these. Well, I have more of other ones, but I've gone after more of these than any of the other ones. But if you look at the cockpit, you can only really fit 2 figures. You can cram a couple in the back there, but it should have a cockpit that looks more like this. See, I like that cockpit a lot better. I mean, that just beats it. The other thing I don't like about this vintage one, and I love the shuttle, it's my favorite, but the way the stuff comes together, these doors, and I know it's older, and I know this stuff's not going to work like new, but when I have more than one, and I suffer the same issue with every one I get, it's one of those things that it starts to get frustrating after a little while when these parts just don't fit exactly right, or you have to manipulate them way too much to get them in there to fit them right. And the weakness of the landing gear. Well, okay, if you've got a Legacy Falcon, you know landing gear is a weak spot. That should get fixed if they ever re-release that thing, especially for the price point they say they're going to. So in closing, like and subscribe. I'm going to try to put out videos almost daily. Let me know if you like this video. If you didn't like it or you hit a dislike on it, please tell me why also. And, of course, Tiberium Hangar, out.